Well, hello, everybody. I'm Paul Carruthers, the communications manager for MotoAmerica, and this is Off Track with Carruthers and Bice. I'm joined, as always, by Sean Bice here to my left, and our special guest here to my right is King Kody Roberts. He needs very little introduction, but I'll throw it out there just in case you've lived under a shell, or what do they say? What's the
a rock or
a
something?
A rock. And that's Kody Roberts is a 3-time 500cc world champion. MotoGP team owner, and now we are really happy to announce that he's going to be
the Grand National Champion.
Oh yeah,
I was going to talk about that.
Three-time AMA Grand National Champion,
Grand Slam
winner.
Yeah,
the accolades could go long. So what we're really happy about is that he's going to be back in the not back in the MotoAmerica paddock, but in the MotoAmerica paddock for the first time as a team owner with our new Talent Cup. And I know you're excited to get started. You've got Kody Kopp as a dirt tracker is your first rider. I don't know if you're going to add a rider or not. I see there's 2 bikes over there, so one's kind of asking for another rider. But we'll get you a sponsor on this show. How's that?
perfect.
But anyway, Kenny,
I knew there was a reason I did this show.
Yes. Yes.
you've taken on this team owner role in this class with a new kid. He hasn't road raced. This will be his first, like you told me this morning, it'll be his first green light on a road race bike. What's that been like so far?
Well, interesting. It's all nice when you come to a race like this and it's all nice and sunny and everything's cool. Then you say, I was having dinner with Arnie Wick, my partner, and I said, this Rookie Cup's going to be really cool. Let's put Kody on it. And he said he's in. I said, okay, let's do it. Probably third or fourth martini, but anyway. And then you find yourself at racetracks and it's really bumpy and cold, and it's like, why did I do this again? I go through this. It's interesting for me. I started with some dirt trackers that weren't very good. Wayne Rainey, guys like that.
Crap.
And Honda said, well, he's really not good enough to go to Europe. The best guy we ever took to Europe, he's not good enough. So it's kind of that thing where you got to kind of believe in the kid, and then you're throwing him in the deep end. It may not be pleasant. This is a really tough thing, but we believe in the kid, and whatever happens, happens. So we're just giving the opportunity, as I've given, Wayne and Eddie and John, Kenny Jr., all of them the opportunity. So it's kind of exciting to just click the dirt tracker and say, okay, we're going to make you a road racer.
Yeah, and just, a few weeks ago we were at Daytona, and I got to see him firsthand on a dirt track bike. And you can see there's something special there. So it's not like you're not just taking a random dirt track guy out of the back of his van and bring him here. This is a kid that obviously knows how to race and ride a motorcycle really well.
Well, certainly has the talent to do it. And we've been watching him. I've been watching him for a few years now. I only got to watch him a few times live, but Arnie keeps me abreast of what he's doing. And I think could be our next guy.
Yeah. Kenny, what is it about Kody that you see in him specifically? Is it his balance, his control in when the rear end is loose, the throttle control? What do you see in him that you are going to see is going to translate?
He wins races.
Well, that yeah,
and championships.
You've got to be something to win as much as he's won.
Right.
So lack of talent isn't going to be his problem. The biggest problem probably will be his size for this particular little bike. But we don't want to keep him on a little bike very long. My goal is to get him to Europe, to get him into Moto2, at least Moto2, and either in the Spanish championships or the Italian championship, and also put him in. I went to Europe. I didn't go to Europe till I was 26. So if people say he's a little old, yeah, he's old, but he's not that old.
Yeah. So I still have a VHS copy of the Roberts Way, the whole video about when you did this stuff in Spain in the camp. And you're going to take Kody over there. So you have obviously that connection. You understand how that whole thing works. Has Spain and that whole thing and Spaniards and Spanish riders, has that changed since when you had that whole camp?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Everybody starts out now in the dirt and pocket bikes. mini bikes. So yeah, they've all changed all that. Unfortunately for us,
Right.
So yeah, they've just taken it to another step, and they obviously have a lot more opportunities than our young Americans have at the moment. But that's what we're trying to change with MotoAmerica.
In this day of so many electronics, and I know even back when Wayne was on your team, you guys were pretty early adopters of a lot of electronics, some TC traction control things even back then. But now there's so much of that. And supposedly these riders have to, well, they don't supposedly have to, they have to trust that electronics and just come out of a corner and just whack that throttle and just trust if it's going to do what it's supposed to do. Is that weird to you? I mean, don't you still have to kind of control the throttle, even if you have that other stuff?
Yeah, I mean, there's electronics, no doubt, but it's also the guy that can work around that and make it to his advantage, rather than just have you're never going to be able to turn the throttle and go around a corner. It just isn't going to happen in motorcycle racing. You still have to ride it, and no matter how much of that, you're still going to turn it more than you want, or more than the computer wants. Mm-hmm. And I don't think you're ever going to have like a car where you just stand on the pedal and you can go around the corner. There's always a breakaway point in the Formula One car, and there's a breakaway point on a motorcycle. So it's the guys that can ride it to that limit and then back it up a little bit and win the race.
We talked about this a little bit earlier. Like, I'm going to name drop, but since he's my dad, it's not really name dropping. But my dad, when he was given this young dirt tracker named Kenny Roberts and said, hey, we need this kid to learn how to road race properly, win road races so we can maybe win this Grand National Championship, and then maybe we can go on from there. The difference is between what you're doing now and what my dad did is my dad was still racing, so he could be like, okay, Kenny, just follow me, or let's do this or do that. Where you have to like do it from the outside looking in. Is that a big change for a guy trying to learn, and is it a big change for a guy trying to teach?
Well, yes, obviously I could follow your dad when I wanted to go slow, and then learn.
He's gonna watch this.
He should cheat all the time. It was great for me because I didn't know a damn thing about it. You know, I didn't know nothing, and I remember the first time he worked on my bikes, and they were yellow and black, and they were all the same. And he said, you know, is your bike red line? I go, yeah, it's 11.5, 12.5, whatever it was, red line at that day. And God, mine won't pull sixth gear. You sure you're in sixth? Yeah. Until the last day of practice. And he took his engines apart. He changed engines, changed motors. And I went down the straightaway. Oh no. Last day.
So there was a sixth gear.
It was like, okay, here's how you tell if you're going to be a racer or not. I had the balls to tell him, remember when you said if I was in sixth?
I wasn't.
He didn't say a word. He just put his head down and walked away.
That's
Poor
pretty
guy.
good.
So, but there's a difference. Always going to be. The thing that you I think it would be nice with Kody is that when he asks you something, mm-hmm. I don't have to tell him something unless I see something so blatant that it's a dangerous. But he's going to have to ask. Man, I'm just having this trouble here. It just feels vague. Okay, what is the vague? You know, I mean, you go through stuff like that with the young kids, and like Wayne, he would just absorb all that stuff. You know, I mean, it just. After every practice, running tapes, I had to buy a editing machine to do that. So that's what you got to do. You got to sit there and, okay, well, this is, maybe we should try this or try that. And he's smart enough to know what to ask. And I think he'll be fine.
So there's your Kenny Jr., and there's Joe, Kody's dad, obviously a very good flat tracker, and has done a little bit of road riding and road racing a little bit. He's got three people. Who takes the lead in talking to Kody?
I would say me.
Yeah.
I throw a fit if I don't.
Right.
I
right.
get really angry.
Does he know to come up to you and talk to you and ask you?
I'm not going to bug him. If he comes up and talks to me, I'll answer his questions.
Okay.
Sometimes it's anybody but the dad kind of a thing too with a kid.
I don't think we'll have any trouble with his dad. He's a savvy racer, and he knows when to stay out of the way and not to get involved in it, you know. So, and a lot of it depends on how good the kid's doing. You know, if he's doing well, nobody has to talk to him.
Yeah.
You know, I used to hide behind the race tires so nobody could talk to me. And I tell Kel, don't let anybody in here. And that's how, you know, that's how it all worked.
Yeah. You know, you just made me think of something. I wasn't going to ask you this, but, you know, you think about Joe with Kody or, well, Sandy Rainey with Wayne. But, you know, or you with Junior. It's hard to take advice sometimes from your family, from your dad. Sometimes you need somebody that's not related to you to tell you stuff. Was that ever a situation with you, with Junior?
No, not with Junior. Certainly not. And of course, I'm not going to say nothing until they either ask a question or I, again, can say something constructive to help things out or loosen it up by making a joke. So there's all these things that you have to do, and you have to, and Joe knows this because he's a racer, so he's not going to be in the way.
Yeah.
If things are happening and he can't help, he's going to be out of the way.
Yeah.
So I don't see that being a problem.
Right.
Gary Taylor from Suzuki, when Junior raced the Suzuki, and one day he said, you know, you always show up at the right time. Is that a coincidence, or it's well, you know, you just have to think about maybe I should walk down and see what's going on.
Wow.
So, yeah,
that's pretty
weird.
good.
Yeah, you got to kind of, you know, we've all been doing this a long time, so
right.
You got to pick your time.
Yeah.
Now you guys did a 2-day test, and I think he ended up third fastest, and that's his first time on the bike, right?
Right.
That's pretty impressive. I mean, it kind of leads you to believe that, like, in his first race, he's going to be competitive and run at the front or near the front. Is that kind of what you're expecting based on what you've seen so far?
Yes. Yeah. We weren't going for lap times. He wanted to see if he could run with the guys, I think, more than anything else. How far off is he? Mm-hmm. You know, where do we have to improve? You know, is it braking? Is it lean angle? Is it, you know, getting on the gas, squaring things off? I mean, these are all things we don't know, and we have no idea because the testing has not been perfect. Mm-hmm. You know, it's been very cold. The track was really bumpy, slippery. So it's not given him the best 3 days that we could get. So it's going to be interesting to put, you know, you're taking a kid out that never raced it before and sticking him in with people that have raced it before. That's a lot smaller and probably a lot more knowledgeable than we are about setup and what to do. So the Kramer guys have been super helpful. Everybody has just been over backwards to make sure that this class is going to be something. Mm. And I think it's going to be something very quickly. Mm.
Now, tomorrow it's supposed to rain for the whole day. But some people think, like, if you're trying to learn a track or learn a bike or even learn how to race the bike, maybe doing so when it's wet isn't a bad thing because it kind of slows everything down a little bit. Is that the case, or would you?
Yes, it definitely will, and it will slow down the point where I think he'll struggle the most is that breakaway point that both tires are wanting to leave, and that's and when it's raining, you don't have that problem because you're not at that lean angle that he has to get at. So one of the things that I'm interested in is that if we can get some dry practice, that's what I'm interested in is lean angle versus lap time versus stopping the thing and squaring it off, getting it going again. So these are just things that we don't know. And he's never had an opportunity to show us yet. So we're all kind of, okay, let's see what goes on.
I'm glad Paul brought that up about the rain, because I actually wanted to ask you about that. I can't imagine that you would say that you liked racing in the rain, but you raced in the rain. You were successful in the rain. Did you like it?
Anytime you end up with a trophy girl,
Yeah,
it's fine.
exactly.
With a trophy.
Yeah,
You know, so
yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I didn't like it. I like racing. I like pushing the thing to the point that you need to push it to, or it's capable of going to. And you know, like me and his dad was a real line guy. And if I ever had to race him on going from point A to point B, I'd have never, no way.
Mm.
But my tools came in a different toolbox. So, you know, riding in the rain is not fun, but it was natural for the dirt trackers.
Well, that's
to do
what I was going to say. You're used to the bike being kind of loose, so it's kind of similar, isn't it? A little bit in some ways. Yeah.
Yeah,
That makes
very
a lot of
much.
sense. Yeah.
But you're talking about what I rode in the rain was an animal.
Yes. Yes, it
What
was.
he's riding in the rain is a kitty cat. So until we get that kitty cat to be a lion, we don't know how he's going to do.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't have to ride a kitty cat.
Right.
You know, most of my stuff was up.
Breathing fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the bike is cool. I mean, it's got a lot of adjustability. It seems pretty proper for what it's supposed to be. What's your impression?
Well, I was expecting to see a production bike racer, which is what Japan has done for years. And I couldn't believe it. Like, this thing looks like a works bike.
Mm.
You know, so much thought has went into this bike. I'm just pissed off I didn't do it myself.
Yeah.
You know, so when I first saw it, I called Wayne. I said, man, this thing's beyond what I imagined to be, you know, basically a junior cup.
Yeah. I mean, let's talk about that, Kenny. We got to talk about it, because you wish you would have made that. Look at the bikes you created. I mean, it's unbelievable. The frames that you created, and going from the 2-stroke era and the 4-stroke era, and you made your own bike. I mean, we think about the CRT era. You were before that with what you were doing, and you at the pointy end of the whole thing. And I mean, it's just like, I think sometimes with you, we talked about this in the beginning, 3-time 500cc champion, and you added Grand Slam and Grand National champion. Well, also a creator of a team manager, creator of bikes, an engineering mind. What is it that you have a son that was a world champion as well, the only father son ever in it? What's the thing that you're most proud of, or number of things in your career?
Well, winning first year out again, because that was never supposed to happen. No one ever did that. Matter of fact, I did a 250 race in Holland my first time. It's 74, and I took the microphone away from the guy and I said, this racing over here, got millions of people, no one gets paid, they're living out of their cars. And I sat down, and Kel looks at me and he says, you'll never do another Grand Prix race again. And I went, good, I want to be a dirt tracker anyway. So that didn't turn out good for them, because I did end up going back to Europe. So yeah, I think that's probably, these young riders don't realize what we had to do to get this sport where it is. They don't know the deals with Ecclestone. They don't know the deals with the FIM. They don't know the boycotts that we went through to get this done. And that goes along with actually having a son that came along and did it as well. So, you know, everybody has a son that has a son, knows that feeling. And it was a lot harder on him, I think, than on me. And for him to pull it off, I think it took more out of him than me.
Yeah.
I just did it to eat and you know, get the trophy girl. But that he had a lot more problems than I did.
Well, and one of the things you mentioned too, Kenny, is something I didn't touch on, is the safety aspect of it. You were an advocate early on for the safety of the riders and pay for the riders. And, you know, these are the greatest assets in the sport. Take care of them, their health, their lives, and their livelihood. So that was a big part of you. I mean, there's got to be a source of pride that you were an early pioneer in that.
Well, they don't know.
Yeah.
No one knows what we had to do behind the scenes. And you could write a book on what we had to do to get all the riders together that stayed together to get what we see now done. And so you basically, motorcycle racing obviously isn't as big as we would like to see it, but it's a lot better than when I showed up at Europe, because we were not treated the way they are now, for sure.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I was told that from the Spanish people that you like racing in America, why don't you go back there and do it? And it's just like, because I pissed them off so much they don't want me, so I'm here to piss you off too. And I did.
Wow.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
With all this, the safety gear that they have now, and I'm talking about like leathers that, you know, that blow up when they crash, or even before they crash when it detects that they're going to crash, and air fences on the track, and the racetracks being as safe as they are now, do you think that allows them to race harder than what you were willing to race? Because
oh yeah, sure,
it has to, right?
Yeah.
I mean, now crashing isn't even a big thing. Crashing back when you did it, there was a good chance you were going to be hurt, if not worse.
Yeah. Well, when I ran off the racetrack in Sweden,
Mm-hmm.
I just reached up and grabbed the front brake and crashed because I knew I was going to die hitting a guardrail. And yeah, it's a different mindset. We would always pick a corner and go, that's not a corner you want to race in. And your dad was good at that with me. It's like, okay, we're going to go around here. And we went around, asked him for the first, okay, you're going to run off the track right here. It's like, yeah, no, but of course I did. Anyway, them are the things that but he said, you can run off here. There's no problem. And so that's why I picked that corner.
But don't do it over there.
Yeah, but there was some corners that you were dead. You were dead. Indy Mile, when I did the Indy Mile on the hit, I was tapping the hay bales on the outside. 2 feet away was a guardrail. A cement wall with every foot a cable. It would have been a big cheese grater, dirt track still has a lot of that, but the road races are a lot safer, and you can risk a little bit more than you could.
Back then, I don't know if you would remember, but how many times would you have crashed like in 1978?
Oh, 78. Well, the one in Sweden when I grabbed the front brake in the dirt, probably 3 times. Right.
And there's guys in this paddock that'll do it 6 over the course of a weekend.
Yeah, I'm a little bit weary of that. I don't know if it's because they're raised on pocket bikes and they just keep doing it till they, I guess, learn how, or I'm not sure.
And it's mostly low sides, obviously, what they...
Well, I read somewhere where someone said, yeah, but there are a lot of crashes, but they just low side. Okay,
still hurts.
I guess I was wrong because I always high sided. So it's just it's a difference between the motorcycles, the tires, and the styles that you have to have now. Make it more so with the front than ever before, and I don't accept the fact that it's okay because they just crash on the front. Because when you watch your motorcycles come back into the truck. All smashed up is not a good time.
I got to mention something about that in 1983 Swedish Grand Prix. I kind of lied to Freddie Spencer about that one time because I told him I cried that day, and I regretted it later because he's actually he's a good guy.
No, he's okay.
Yeah, but I told him that, and I was like, back in those days, you didn't find out about it until a week later.
No.
So I didn't even know about it.
Well, remember when we had him on the podcast? He said we never touched.
We're going to go there?
No, yeah. And he said that in Japan. Well, but that's racing. I said, oh, you run off the track and run me off, and that's racing?
Things never change. That photo of you holding up all those Polaroid photos,
yeah,
that is the greatest photo ever. It's like, here's the proof. So
it was he said, but we never touched. Yeah, well, that's because I'm smarter than you are. I got out of the way.
Anyway, I did regret that, although I did defend Your Honor. I got to tell you something else. I defended Your Honor in something else recently because you probably didn't see this, but we ran the photo of the bike with the eagle on the side, which is quintessential Kenny Roberts all the way. And I mentioned in the beginning, I said, Bumblebee's on the rise. Now, I know it's not the strobe effect stuff, which is Yamaha. Somebody's tried to say, oh, that's Yamaha's. That's not Kenny Roberts. And I mentioned, okay, yes, Yamaha went Molly Designs came up with that. I said, but Kenny is the white eagle for sure. And I said, he got yellow and black as much as anybody else. That's your thing too, right?
The eagle was Goodyear.
Yes, that's right.
So I didn't invent the eagle.
Okay.
The eagle, Goodyear, that was the Goodyear design.
Okay.
They designed the leathers and the helmet.
Wow.
And give me enough money to go to Europe. Otherwise,
wouldn't have worked.
I don't know that I would have went.
Were you the only rider on Goodyear's or the first one?
Yes.
They said they were cheater tires,
For
remember?
3 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You think about that nowadays. I mean, they must not have even known what the brand was, and you had it on your leathers.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, that's that goes way back.
It didn't turn out to be a very good year for those other guys, did it?
I remember that goes way back. We had to haul the tires and yeah, I could tell you stories, but there's not enough time.
Yeah. I know we're running out of time, but one thing I want to talk to you about.
Although there is one that no one knows about.
Give it to us.
That no one knows about is I used to, because we didn't have intermediate tires, I used to cut my own.
Hand cut you, yes.
And then, they have movies, me cutting. And the tire technician was a 79, I believe. Tim Miller, and Paul knows him. He said, why are you cutting these? You got little things and bigger things. And I said, well, the little thing, if it's really raining, the little knobs are going to move around more and heat up the bigger knobs. Then if it gets too hot, the bigger knobs are going to take over from the little knobs.
Wow.
And he thought about it, and he went to Hockenheim. His next event was Formula One. And he noticed that it was wet, and he noticed that the inside of the tire was not wearing out, but the outsides were. And that's when the gator back was made. He went in truck and drew a line, and the gator back at that time, no one would run it, matter of fact, until a private team said, we'll run it 2 seconds a lap quicker. It's in the Goodyear book. There's a lot of Goodyear books, obviously, but they were talking about the transfer from motorcycle technology to Formula One, and that was the most successful tire they had at the time, was called the Gatorback.
Mm-hmm. Before we end this, I want to talk to you about something.
I never got a dime for that either.
You got to sue him or something.
Either did Tim. Sue him. No, no.
Pioneers, the first people are always the ones that get abused. That's the problem.
Yeah.
The first to do it.
I heard that.
All right, let me talk to you about this real quick.
It's got to be quick.
Well, I'll try to make it as quick as possible. So you mentioned 78, you mentioned 79, 1980, the third championship in a row, and that bike, or of one of those bikes from that year, is now in the Barber Motorsports Museum. Your collection, as well as Junior's, his RGV Suzuki, and we found out the other day the KR211V with a Honda engine in it. And I've heard it's the only Honda engine outside of Honda that you have it, and it's in your bike. So all of this stuff that you have is, and there's a lot of other stuff I understand. So all of this stuff that was in
some of it we can't talk about.
Okay, well, we're not going to talk about it, but you took that stuff and realized, I've got to put this somewhere where people can see it. And
it wasn't so much me as it was them.
Okay.
Brian Casey's the guy that we worked with. We met Mr. Barber a year ago at the function that they brought us to, and it kind of mustered into that. We want, you're the start of a lot of this stuff, and we want to preserve it. And I never thought about it. I always thought about the next one. That's why I don't. People say, you should write a book. I'm not done yet. I'll be dead before I'm done, but The problem is I don't think that way. I don't think the past. I'm thinking more toward the future. So I never kept any of that stuff. I never put it out so people could see it.
Right.
You know, so now it's time. Now it's time to Kenny's kids can go see it. Mm-hmm. So our sort of family, what we've done so far is there. And they're just starting to make it better.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. You probably have this too. I mean, I have stuff at home in my garage that I don't even know I have until I look at it and like, oh yeah, I forgot I had that. And I mean, I don't get to covet it, and because I don't have it out for anybody to see. It's great that people are going to be able to see this and understand what the legacy is.
Not only the bikes, but also a lot of personal stuff.
All of it, yeah.
You know, the Ronald Reagan wrote me the telegram when I retired. Things like that people don't normally get to see. We'll be able to see it for the rest of eternity.
It's a perfect place for it to be, because that place, every time you go through
there's no better museum.
No, I agree with you completely.
There's no better.
Every time you go through there, it seems like there's something else that I didn't see or whatever. So how is it going to work for that whole thing? Are you going to end up getting like a wing of it or a section of it that's, you know, the entire Kenny?
No, they offered me the whole museum if I wanted it.
Okay, that's fair.
But then I'd have to run it.
Right. Yeah, you would. That's true.
That's not going to work.
That's not going to work. No, it's funny that I have nothing to do with just being a pretty face. It's just kind of nice to walk in there and see that exhibit.
Absolutely.
You know, and we're still adding to it. It's just started.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, well, I'm going to end this.
Well, let me just say this one thing. And next weekend, you're going to be there with Kody Kopp and your team and your collection in the museum. So people will be able to see you in the flesh there, working with a team, doing what you do. And then they can see your stuff over in the museum too. I just wanted to add that. Thank you, Paul.
All right. And I want to thank you for coming. And personally, we're all very happy that we're going to get to see you at least 7 times this year. So it'll be a lot of fun. What? No, we're stoked.
We are. Are you kidding? Oh, man.
You're going to podcast every week.
You guys must be on drugs. Nobody would say that. Insane.
You will be at every round, right?
I'm going to try to be at every round.
Okay. We hope so.
Yeah, unfortunately, I won't be here for the race. I've got a prior commitment that I got to go to. Darn it! But
you mean
this first
Saturday, the first 2 races? Okay.
But Kenny's here, so
yes,
he knows a little bit about
a little bit. Yeah, great.
All right. Well, again, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to 7 more races with you.
Okay. Oof.